Hi, I'm Michelle from Half Work Will Travel, and I'm here today with the Paws and Pans program from Off-Campus Student Living, the Dietetics program, the Student Cupboard, and CalFresh. We're here to show you a few easy recipes that you can do with minimal ingredients that only take a few minutes for a nice, healthy meal. So today we're going to be covering spicy Asian chicken slaw with just a few ingredients of cabbage, bell peppers, you can use green or red, scallions or green onions, raisins, chicken, ham, or tofu. We're using chunk chicken today, peanuts, sesame sauce, rice vinegar, red pepper flakes, and sesame oil. Now the sesame oil is very strong, so you can take the recipe and I would suggest using the amount of the recipe or a little bit less. If you're not sure if you like the flavor, you can always add more. So to start with, we're going to cover knife cuts. So I'm going to move these out of the way. For bell pepper, you're going to want to take it and see the little lines. You just cut in between the lines to show the membrane and the seeds. And you just follow it around and you're leaving the core and the seeds. I'm going to take the bell pepper and we're going to julienne it, which means cut in long, thin slices. So you wind up like this. It's very easy to do, but you're going to want to make sure you hold the knife, hold it like you're pinching it, and keep your hands out of the way. I find it's easier to do inside out versus top down because of the skin. But you want to do matchstick size cuts, which is about maybe a half of the width of your pinky. And then you cut it in half because you want bite-sized pieces. And then we're going to cut it in the middle again so that we have a nice little pile of bite size. I want to put some green bell pepper in there as well. And I want to put some green bell pepper in there as well. And we'll finish dicing that. All right, so we have that. Let's do one more piece of that. All right, so we have approximately a cup, 3/4 cup of peppers. So we're going to take those and put those in a bowl. We have that. And you want to make sure that you have a large enough bowl because when we start cutting the cabbage, it's going to make quite a bit. Green cabbage are kind of dense. And again, be careful. So if you notice there's a core in the middle, I'm going to cut the core out because we want shreds. We don't want a big chunk in the middle. We have it like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it like this, right down the middle. And then start shredding it very gently into strips. You want it thin, but that way it breaks apart. By removing the core, it will break apart and make it easier to eat and serve. If you wanted to, you could do it as a wedge. And we have nice little pieces, and you can just break them apart with your hands. You're going to wind up with about 3 cups of cabbage for your slaw. All right, so you can always do part and part and move it over to the bowl. If you have a large enough area, you can cut it all down at one time. Get to this piece on the end, you can just turn it on its side and continue slicing down. So now we have the cabbage and the peppers. I'm going to put 1 cup of raisins in. Just drop those in. They'll rehydrate a little bit when you add the dressing. And we'll get started on the dressing next. We'll put the peanuts in at the very end along with. Let's do these onions while they're right up front. We're only going to use 2. I like my slaw a little bit less oniony. So we're going to just start slicing these very thinly. And you want to cut them on the bias, which means cutting at an angle. So that way you get a little bit thinner and prettier cut. So the ends of these we're going to save and cut a little bit differently. Now, if you happen to have kitchen shears, this would be a good time to pull them out. You can just cut the greens with kitchen shears if you're nervous about using knives on them. The whole purpose of this is to make them very fine to use as a topping. So we're going to just chop these up a little bit more. And one of the good things about green onions is they have a nice fresh flavor without being overpowering the way some onions can. And you can put as many or as few that you like. All right, let me get a bowl to put this in. Oh, we'll just use this bowl. Let's put these back in here. So far we have our peppers, cabbage, the raisins, and the green onions. So get yourself a measuring cup or a glass bowl that you can mix up the vinaigrette in. We have soy sauce, rice vinegar, sesame oil, and last and least, a little bit of red pepper flake. This is optional, but it is spicy, so you want spicy. Now that we have everything in here, we're going to give it a stir. It doesn't take much for the slaw. It will break down fairly rapidly. We're going to just pour it over the top. Give it a good stir. See how pretty that is? The red, yellow, and orange peppers are a little bit sweeter than the green bell peppers. So if you find green bell peppers a little bit too bitter, you can always just use the colored ones. And the nutrition's the same, but I think it gives it a little bit more festive look. And it's already coming together really well, if you can see. So for the peanuts, let me set this over here for a moment. We're going to put in part of the peanuts into the salad and then save a little bit for the top. So I'm going to take them and chop them up. Make sure you can see that. Now you can do this with a knife. If you're feeling ambitious, you can put them in a bag and take a pan or a small hammer like a rubber mallet and gently crush them. I'm chopping them just because I want to control how small I make the nuts. I think this will be awfully good with almonds, even macadamia nuts or sunflower seeds. So this looks good enough. So I'm going to take approximately half of what I've chopped and put them into the salad. And what's left I'm going to put back in the bowl to put on top. You can go in there. All right, so we have the nuts, everything all mixed together. If you notice, the cabbage is starting to wilt a little bit. And we haven't added any salt because the soy sauce or tamari, depending what you use, is going to start breaking down the cabbage a little bit, a lot of salt in it. So you won't need to add any additional salt. You just have to let the chemistry of cooking work its magic. So at this point we have everything we need. We're going to add in 1 cup of chunk chicken, and this is canned chunk chicken that has been drained. You want to make sure you drain it so that way you don't have a saturated salad, and just stir it in. See how pretty that looks? So now we have our salad. I have a nice bowl. I'm going to actually add just a little bit more chili flake on top. And you can change this up however you like. You can also add chili crisp if you happen to have chili crisp. But we're going to take a nice scoop of the salad. You want to make sure you get a little bit of everything. So now we're ready to garnish. So we have our salad. We're going to take a little bit more of the green onion, just the tops, and sprinkle that on top. And a little bit more nuts. And there you have it. Spicy Asian Chicken Slaw. Thanks for tuning in for the Paws and Pans recipe sessions. I hope that you try the recipe. If you do, leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Thanks again to Save Mart, CalFresh, the Dietetics Program, Off-Campus Student Living, and the Student Cupboard.